Mal Fletcher. We're asking today whether Theresa May should stay or go, and I was interested to find out what your take was on that.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, Andy. I think it's getting very close to the time now where something has to give in terms of our government, whether it's Theresa May or something else. I think what we've seen through this whole process, and people were assuming that while Brexit would be a difficult process to carry out, it would be finite. Instead, it's proven to be much more tortuous. I think the biggest source of fatigue for people is this perceived lack of leadership we've seen coming from our government. It seems Parliament's top-heavy with political managers, but lacking in the type of leadership that casts long-term vision and strategy and engages people with them. I think many people on both sides of the debate at the moment feel completely cut out of the process. They're hearing a lot of sloganeering, but little by way of strategy, and that's true from both sides of the political divide in this country.
And as for this sense of, a growing pressure, a growing sense of anger on all sides, do you think as a social commentator that there is a risk that this country is going to end up torn or riven by this process?
In one sense, I think, Andy, it already is in some respects. But I have great confidence in the British people, and throughout history, Britain has been proven to be a country that's fairly moderate in the way that it expresses its dislike for something or its approval of something. So we're not quite as, shall we say, hot-blooded as our Mediterranean cousins are, for example. I think that it is already divided, and I don't think it will take a lot for us to come back together, but I do think that we're going to have to move quickly now to resolve the Brexit situation to allow us to see that healing take place.
Well, we shouldn't be naive about it, not suggesting you are, but what about the London riots? What about the miners' strikes? We do have a history when we're very angry about something, do we not, of getting out on the streets and making it known, sometimes with violence. I'm not for a second suggesting that is what we're going to see, but there are people speculating that that's the way it's headed. There are people online saying, if I don't get my Brexit, then all hell's going to break loose.
Yeah, I don't think that's very helpful at all. I think I understand the premise, but I disagree with it essentially because things like the London riots were driven by relatively small groups of people who shared a particular socioeconomic situation and a particular mindset at the time. There were lots of other factors in there that aren't true of Brexit. Brexit is a much bigger issue affecting a much more varied group of people within the population.
You don't think that poses a bigger risk rather than a smaller one?
No, I don't necessarily, because I think that moderate voices have a bigger piece of the action, if you like, in this instance than they would have done among the mainly younger people who were involved, for example, in the London riots. Yes, there's always a danger of bloodshed. There's always a danger of violence. But I think that if it were to happen, and we hope and pray that it doesn't, it would be fairly limited in its scope. I think for the most part, people, though they may be angry on one side or the other, let's not forget that there are people, Andy, on both sides that are angry at the moment. It's not just the Remainers that are angry. There are plenty of people on the Leave side who are angry that this thing hasn't been delivered when they felt they'd given an instruction to Parliament 3 years ago. So there's anger on both sides, and I think in the end people will see, look, it's time for us to build a common ground. Once this thing is resolved, let's just get on. If we've left, let's make that work.